the cost of the project, and that finally resulted in the eThekwini municipality being willing to sign an offtake agreement and signing it in January of this year. If you look at another project like, for example, the Umzimvubu water project and the Intabalanga Dam there, that project has also been delayed for a long time, and there were different reasons why that was delayed. That's a social project. Initially, it had been designed to be very ambitious and to also include an ambitious hydropower dam as well as the Intabalanga Dam. And what was needed to unblock that and accelerate it was different. There we had to re-look at the design of the project to make it more affordable. For many years, we were unable to get a sufficiently large allocation from the budget to fund it. So we re-looked at the design of it, and we reconfigured the project so that it would be more affordable. And that resulted in eventually National Treasury agreeing to fund it as a social project, but just focus on the Intabalanga.
And therefore, it resulted in us converting their grant schedule from direct to indirect. And where it becomes indirect, where the department holds the grants and wait for every payment to certify it through the CFO, there we provide additional support. And in this case, we may identify a water board to be the implementing agent. And a case in point in the Northwest is where in the Nagamudir there, we are utilizing Mahalis Water as the implementing agent for some projects in Dinokana and some other areas. And I must say, Chair, that we are at an advanced stage as well in that part to take much of the other projects that have been delayed in the area through Mahalis Water as the implementing agent. And the same, as you might be well aware, is happening in Mfuleni, where we're using Rand Water as the implementing agent because we deal with the issues case by case. In Mpumalanga, we have a different case where in Likwa, we are using Hertsibande, which is a municipality to be the implementing agent for the intervention in Likwa municipal. So it's a case by case. It depends on the conditions on the ground. But that's how we were handling the issues. Thank you, TG.
Thank you very much. Then there was also a question on whether we have a binding mechanism to make municipalities pay the water boards. And I think the short answer to that is no, we don't. So the water boards are asked to implement credit control measures such as restricting water supply to municipality, which is not an optimal mechanism because it means that even the people who are paying water bills suffer because of the water restriction, or to take the municipality to court, or to bring an order of court to catch the municipality's account. Those are also not optimal mechanisms because in terms of intergovernmental relations, and cooperation, the kind of cooperation that is in the Constitution between the different spheres of government, we should try and avoid having different spheres of government take each other to court. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Honourable Musikatsi, it's your turn now.
Good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to the Honourable Minister, the Deputy Minister, the DG, Honourable members. Minister, I only have 4 questions to ask. The questions is based on the report of the Auditor General and also the Water and Sanitation report. My first question is how many water supply systems do we have across the country? And please highlight how many are non-compliant. My second question is what mechanisms are in place to enforce the Blue Drop status compliance of the South African National Standard 214? The third question, what is the progress in achieving universal equitable access to drinking water for all by 2030? My last question is, what steps are being taken by the department to ensure compliance with the United Nations guidelines on drinking water quality? Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you to Honorable Musikatsi. Let me update to respond to this.
Thank you, Chairperson. So on the question with regard to access to water services, up until now, the standard by which access to water services is measured is what we call the RDP standards. We are currently revising the norms and standards, the minimum norms and standards for water services. As I mentioned, we published them for public comment, and we're busy looking at those comments now, and we might need to republish the revised norms and standards. But the current minimum norm for access to water is to have access to a standpipe within 200 meters of your house. Now, currently, Stat South Africa is measuring access to that kind of level of service, which is the current level of service. And we rely on the Stats SA statistics, which are official statistics for our planning and monitoring work as the department. In terms of those Stats SA statistics, approximately 90% of the population has access to the minimum RDP level of service currently, and that has increased from approximately 55% in 1994. What Stats SA is not yet measuring is the reliability of the service. So Stats SA simply checks whether there's a communal standpipe 200 meters household, or whether there's a house connection. Stats SA is not measuring whether the quality of water coming out of the tap meets drinking water quality standards, or whether the water is reliable coming out of the tap. According to our own assessments, the reliability of deteriorated as indicated by the green and blue report. So while access is improved, reliability has deteriorated. In recent years, the access has plateaued at about 90%. And we think that's because municipalities are increasingly using their MIG and their RBIG and WISIG grants to rehabilitate or refurbish existing infrastructure rather than to provide new infrastructure to increase that access. However, we are attempting as the department with our work with municipalities on planning that Rizimati has talked about, to encourage municipalities to prioritize projects using the grants to meet that remaining 10% of lack of access. I should also just clarify that the statistics from Statistics South Africa don't mean that everywhere in the country 90% of people have access to an RDP level of service. That's an average figure for the whole country. So in some parts of the country, people have there's 100% access to that RDP level of service. But in other parts of the country, particularly in rural areas which were in former homeland areas, there's a much lower level of access. And in some areas of the country, the level of access can still be as low as 10 or 20%. And we're particularly focusing on those areas in terms of encouraging municipalities to utilize their grants to provide access to and the South African National Standard 214.
Thanks, DG. In terms of our blood drop reports, which we released last year, 2023, we have a total number of systems of about 958. So their level of compliance will vary. For example, those that are critical, it will be about 29%, which is 277. And those that scored poorly, we had about 174, which is about 18%. But those that, if I move quickly to those who scored about 95 to 100%, which were the excellent, we had only 26 out of 958, which is about 3%. And those that are scoring good, 108, 11%. We've got the scores per province, and we
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. One question from my side. More than 99% of your 23-24 budget was spent while you only achieved 70% of your targets. And this is a trend now for the last few years. There are 30% worth of target that is not accounted for in the expenditure. I would like to know whether this is a budget problem or over expenditure, that you have overspent on the 70%, or you did not manage to budget correctly. Thank you.